Okay guys, I'm down in Southern California, came down to do some dyno testing, brought all three of the other guys' motors down. As you can see, this is the Cadillac motor, and we've already torn it apart. I want to find out what was going on with it. FREIBURGER told me, I think this thing's got a rod knock, so you better check it out and make sure. So we did a disassembly video. You guys can check this out. It's right now. And we found out what's going on with this thing. Now, this thing had a lot of nitrous run through it, I'm told, so I wanted to make sure that everything else was okay, too. So I took the heads off. We wanted to make sure what heads were on this thing, what block this was, what pistons it had on it, all of that stuff, so we could find out and we know how much power to run, because I wanted to start out with just a stock motor. So that's what we're going to do. Put it back into stock trim, run it, and then make some upgrades. Okay guys, I'm down in Southern California. We got the Cadillac out of the back of the truck. I got it at my buddy Mark's place, and I'm going to disassemble it and find out what's going on to see if something's broke or what the deal is. I'm sure FREIBURGER said it. I just talked to him today. He said, I think it has a rod knock. That means it's hurt, but let's find out. We get things started by pulling the intake manifold. And we buzz all the bolts out. Little pry bar action and work that intake off.
Well, here's
That's
your
when we
problem.
found something was missing.
There's nothing connected to those. Where are the push rods?
Next, we popped off those valve covers.
So we got something interesting going on with this spring. Got some stuff coming out of there. Looks like part of the seal.
Something grabbed the seal on
Check
this.
that out.
FREIBURGER, did you ever rev this motor? Then came valve cover number 2. With valve covers off, time to loosen the rockers. Then we follow the same procedure on the other side. Who the heck tightened these things so much? After I finally got them loose, I zipped them off with a gun. Flat top pistons and large chamber heads. This was a late model low compression 500.
Well, the valves and chambers look good. I'm told by FREIBURGER that this is a 472 head. So we'll have to check on the chamber size.
Time to zip off head number 2. Aluminum heads sure would be nice right now. I know this was an aftermarket cam, so I made sure to pull all the hydraulic flat tappet lifters and keep them in order in our nice little tray. When the bolts interfere with the stand, time to grab the Whizzy wheel. Time to unbolt that pan and find all the damage. Would we find any broken rods? Yeah. Got some bad stuff in there. Actually, the bottom end didn't look too bad. First main cap we checked looked okay.
So we take
Main
a look
cap
at this
number
other
2
main
even
cap,
looked
the
good.
rear main cap. Got some spider webs on it, but the rear bearing looks fine. I'll show you what one I'm worried about. We're going to take that off next. See, that's pretty nice. Look at this. It shouldn't make noise like that. It should move around. So I'm going to take that rod, take that cap off, see what's going on. Okay, this is the one I'm worried about. This is the rod I'm worried about. FREIBURGER said this thing he thought it had some rod knock. This might be it. I'm going to take it apart and find out.
Okay guys, keep your fingers crossed. We're pulling the rod cap.
That's not good. Yep, she spun the bearing. They're all together. You can see it doesn't want to come apart. But here's the other side. Yeah, she's in there good. Well, we'll have to find out if the crank is any good. Let's get another one. The rod actually doesn't look bad. It's not blued or anything. At least the cap's not. It's not terrible. Even if we had to put a new rod in it, that's not a big deal. The one next to it was fine. This one's bad. It's got to be rebuilt. Well, as you can tell from the video, we found out what's wrong with it. It definitely has a spun bearing. As a matter of fact, that bearing is like hanging on to that crankshaft for dear life. It does not want to let go. So we'll get that off. I want to have them measure it, make sure the crank is okay. If it's not, we'll have to replace it with another crank. I also want them to check the rod, make sure it doesn't look like it's blued that bad. So maybe the rod's still good. Maybe it can be resized. I want to put it back together in stock trim so we can run it and have a good starting point, find out what these Cadillac motors really do. Now this is a later low compression one, but that's okay, that's not a problem. We got some cool stuff working with Courtney and the Cadillac guys out there. I'm hopefully going to do a road trip out there and go visit him, which would be cool because he's got a lot of fun stuff. I can load up, bring a truckload of stuff back, get on the dyno, and do a bunch of crazy Cadillac stuff.